Leon Clarke, 49 years old. He appeared a couple of days ago at Highbury Corner Magistrates Court in London. His offence was, over a long period of time, he had this rather unsavoury hobby, going to crowded commuter stations and exposing himself to great crowds of people, 7 different stations, repeatedly, day after day, day after day. Obviously, the stations are crowded, and women, little kids, getting pretty traumatised by this. So let's not say that what he was doing was a minor offence. And the fact that he kept doing it and deliberately did it at crowded stations, this man is a menace. He appeared at Highbury Corner Magistrates Court, charged with multiple sex crimes, sex offences. Guess what his punishment was? They fined him, threw the book at him. 10 quid. He got a £10 fine. The magistrate also said you're going to get a 1-year community order. That's a kind of unpaid work for which he almost certainly won't turn up, because nobody does. And also, this is my favourite, he's got a 5-year sexual harm prevention order. That bans him from approaching, touching or sitting next to unknown females. Well, you know, he's actually sort of banned from flashing, but it hasn't stopped him in the past. So that's ridiculous. That's like saying to a bank robber, I'm not going to send you to jail. I'm going to hand you this prevention order that bans you from robbing banks. Just ridiculous, non-punishment. So £10, that'll teach him. To talk about this grave miscarriage of justice, if you ask me, in the studio is ex-Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville. Mike, your thoughts on this extraordinary case?
Well, it just shows that one of the key reasons we have prisons is to keep people safe. And so people rightly ask, why is Lucy Connolly in prison for a tweet for 31 months? This man's not put in prison. Because we know that, in my experience, flashing is like a gateway offence. So often people lose the thrill and then they move on to sexual assaults and rapes. Then when they talk about the sex offender register and monitoring people, I was in charge of the Lambeth sex offender unit. And it had the most sex offenders in the country. And the one at Islington will be big as well. Everything in London's big.
London, yeah.
There will not be enough officers to check on this man. And so he's been allowed to just simply get away with this. He probably won't even pay the £10. And as you've already said about this unpaid work, my research showed that every year there's about 2 million hours of this unpaid work just simply not done. And so, because the government, they make up all these laws, like putting tags on people, and then they don't have the officers to enforce them. So he will just simply get away with it. He'll do this again. And as I say, violence against women and girls is on the increase. And this is a sort of dangerous individual who should be in prison, not somebody sending tweets.
It is a gateway crime. It often leads to far more serious sexual offences. But I don't want to suggest that flashing, exposing yourself, is not a serious offence. When you do it to a young mum with, say, 2 or 3 of her little kids, you know, that is a very serious offence that traumatises the mother and really traumatises the kids who shouldn't be seeing this sort of thing. So let's not say that this wasn't much of a crime, or that these weren't much of a crime. I mean, he kept doing it repeatedly to different stations, 7 different stations, went back to Cheam Station twice. So it's a serious crime. What on earth, Mike, do you think was going through the magistrate's head when he or she, I don't know who it was, said, right, I'm going to fine you £10?
Well, too often the people who are the magistrates are part of the establishment who see the offenders as a victim. That's what they see these characters out. Rather than thinking this is a dangerous sex offender who hasn't just done it once, it's not one silly mistake, this is, as you said, a multiple linked series of crimes. So the police have obviously spent a lot of time investigating. So you can imagine how the police officers feel as well. You've done all that work to put this dangerous individual before the courts, and then they get a £10 fine and all this nonsense. But
£10.
It's beyond belief.
Stunning, isn't it?
But the magistrate, as I said, the key thing for me is too often the people who sit as magistrates, they see this individual as a victim, not as a dangerous offender.
Well, there's that old phrase, isn't there? The punishment should fit the crime. Let me ask the audience, does in any way a £10 fine for serial exposure, sexual exposure, crowded stations. He picked on commuter stations. Does in any way a £10 fine, is that a punishment that fits the crime? I mean, you know, frankly, the fact they kept doing it, Mike, I think you've got to think custodial. There,
you have got to think custodial. And also, if you think the £10, how many hours of police investigation would it have taken? So they would have gone through hundreds of hours of CCTV. How much money did that cost? How much money did the court cost? So this £10 doesn't even cover the cup of coffee that the magistrate's having when they sit in. Listen to this, carry on.
It's getting ridiculous, some of these sentences, or the leniency of some of these sentences that are handed down. And I always think, you know, this is just a speculative discussion, but I'm worried about, in terms of crime and punishment, this nation, Britain's approach to sex crimes. I mean, we seem to have a policy pretty much that paedophiles, first-time paedophiles, don't go to jail. I give you Hugh Edwards. Yeah. So the vast majority of paedophiles who are caught, either sexually abusing children actually or being in possession of images of child sex, we almost have a policy that the first time you don't go to jail. Well, that seems to me wrong. Also, we generally, I think, we go quite lightly on sex offenders, paedophiles, rapists. I mean, these kind of people, in my view, the kind of sentences they should be getting should be north of 10 years.
Absolutely.
But they're actually, many of them getting 2 years. They're out within one.
Well, the thing is with for every picture of a child, every paedophile picture of a child, that is a child who's been abused. That's a child's life ruined. So when you hear these people like Hugh Edwards, who've got hundreds of these images, that's hundreds of lives ruined, and no one seems to take this into account. And it needs to be dealt with properly. Well,
as I was saying, to back up what I was saying, it's actually a third of convicted sex offenders don't go to jail, and most first-time paedophile offenders walk free from court, like Hugh Edwards did. We've got to recalibrate our approach to this, and we're going soft on sex crimes. It seems to me that sex crimes are the crimes we should go hardest on.
Hardest on that, and anything involving violence, anything robbery, anything involving violence or violation of homes like burglary, I think is the same. Because that makes people feel so unsafe, and as I say, it ruins lives when people don't feel safe. And going back to the original case, Leon Clarke, you got all these women who know, and the children who won't want to go to the train station. There's basic things in life that they won't do because of some wickedness. And as I say, every paedophile picture, child's life ruined. We should really crack down on this, because there's too many of these people, individuals being caught and not being dealt with. And we need to build some more prisons to put them in.
Well, they say they're building 3 more, but that'll take a while. We need a lot more prisons, it seems to me. Let me ask the audience, so what do you think? Let's just focus on paedophiles. Why do we have a kind of policy almost that first-time paedophile offenders don't go to jail, like Hugh Edwards?
And many of them are nice and middle class, and that's a problem here, I think. Yeah, the magistrate, they sit in front of the magistrate and they're the same sort of individual. Nice suit on, well. Not some scallywag who's done, you know, nick some bread out the shop. They'll go to jail and they'll get up because it's like, the mirror images of the people sat there.
Yeah, that is two-tier justice for you in a nutshell. Let's quickly, before you go, Mike, let's talk about Maddie McCann, German cops in Portugal, Praia da Luz, where she went missing in 2007. Today launched yet another search of the scrubland outside of Praia da Luz. I believe that the search area was the same as an area that's already been searched by British police. So what seems to be the chronology of the Maddie McCann saga? She goes missing in 2007, very, very sad, never to be seen again, or hide nor hair, no sign, nothing. She's just gone. The British police, you know, they go through the mill, round and round the same houses. They searched this land. They went back, didn't they, sometime after the basic case had been dropped. They searched this area. Now we're doing it all again because the Germans have decided that this guy, Christian Bruckner, definitely a dodgy rapist, paedophile, who lived in the area of Praia da Luz at the time, the Germans think this is the guy. That's why they're searching this area. So I'm wondering what you think about the ongoing nature of this. I mean, are we now just really wasting our time? And I think a very serious question to be asked on behalf of Brits is this. We are still paying for a Scotland Yard investigation into this, 18 years on. Now, for the sake of the parents, the poor family and everything, Jerry and Kate and the sisters as well, you know, we don't want to just say, right, we're never going to think about this again, but asking taxpayers to carry on forking out money for a case that has revealed absolutely nothing, not an iota of evidence, an iota of a clue what happened to her in 18 years. Why are we still paying money for that?
Well, my view is that there's very, very few people talk about missing people, but there's very few people who actually vanish and there's no trace, like Maddie McCann. There's a handful of people. Yeah. And so I have no problem really with the investigation if there are proper leads. But what seems to be happening here is that the Brunswick prosecutor, the German prosecutor, has almost made a decision that Bruckner is the guilty man and we'll now find evidence to fit him.
Yeah.
And as you've indicated, Bruckner is a wicked and evil man. He is a paedophile. He's raped old ladies.
He's in jail at the moment for rape.
He's done all sorts of evil acts, but that alone does not mean you've done...
That he's the guy.
He's the guy. And as I spoke to you before, there's also this issue. The Germans say, we've got concrete evidence. To us in England, that means there's absolutely proof, you know, DNA, CCTV, fingerprints, it's him. But concrete evidence in Germany means
different, isn't it?
There's something where you could question him about it because he was in the area. You know, there's a tangible fact around that. But I personally feel we should...
What we call circumstantial.
Yeah, circumstantial or reasonable grounds.
Yeah,
but concrete evidence is a completely different thing. Yes, I think we should be doing it, but just simply going over the same old grounds. And I've said before, and I've offered this to the family, that if you're going to find her, the way to find her is this: all the evidence has gone, all the witnesses are tainted, they're old. If she's alive today, she'll be in an image somewhere because she'll be on. You can't help but be on Facebook or have a passport. She's got distinctive clothing when she was kidnapped. The way to find her is by images, and I've offered this assistance and it's not been taken up. That's the way to do it, not searching the same old places that they've searched 3 times before.
What's your hunch? What's your instinct about Christian Bruckner? Yes or no? Do you think he could be the guy?
He could be the guy, but I doubt it. I think the German prosecutor I think it's him, and then they try to make the circumstances fit. And in any investigation, that's not a good tactic. Really, you should be finding the evidence and then linking it to the suspect, not finding the suspect and then finding evidence to link onto him.
And there's also been this slightly strange dynamic. It's definitely been going on. So it was the British police coming in and saying, these Portuguese police don't know what they're doing. They've made a real mess of this. We'll take over the case. The British police then sort of concentrating on it for years, don't get anywhere. In come the German police. Well, these British police and the Portuguese police, they don't know what they're doing. Leave it to the Germans. We're on the case now. And it seems like all these police forces are basically just going through the same territory and getting nowhere fast.
Absolutely. And they all have different methods. They're all very different types of police forces as well, which doesn't help working together. And I just think we've got to find other ways. And as I said to you, images are the way. If she's alive today, our image, me and you could be in a restaurant, we could take a photograph and she's in the background. And that's where you could find her.
Well, it's a very sad situation still for Maddie's poor parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, and she's got sisters as well, so remember, it's a family. It's very sad, but obviously we hope the German police may be on the verge of a big breakthrough. They're using this sort of special equipment that allows them to detect whether or not the ground has been disturbed, so they might be able to find where potentially a body could have been buried. But it seems like a long shot, doesn't it, to me and to Mike? So all very sad, but I just have a feeling that we may never know. I hope we find out, but after 18 years, not a clue. Seems like a long shot, doesn't it?